Welcome into the Fantasy Guides podcast. My name is Andrew Toyser, and I am joined today by the owner, the operator of Fantasy Guides and FantasyGuides.com, Stephen Rippey, as well as second-time host, fellow Fantasy Guides contributor, and freak in the Google Sheets, AJ Cleaver. Welcome, gentlemen. We are gathered today to go over.
I like that. Freak in the Google Sheets.
You know, I was trying to figure out how to balance making it just not a blatant sex thing, and then also what he does, because you know, AJ, I don't know that much about you in that regard, but I wanted to be clear in my intentions. Was this an acceptable title?
I would say so. There are many T-shirts out there for us accountants that has the Excel symbol on it and says "freak in the sheets." So,
I like that. I'm gonna make a T-shirt for that. That's pretty cool.
They always say those accountants always with their jokes, funny people, never boring. We'd never think of them as boring. Sorry, accountants out there. However, we are here to talk about not accountant jokes. We are here to get right into things and talk about every single matchup this week, except for Thursday night, because you're getting this after that has already happened. So every game this weekend and on Monday night, we're going into all of it, hitting every single one, who you need to start, who you need to sit, who you should be tempering expectations on. You don't need to go anywhere else but here. We got you. Before we get into that, though, since we aren't going to talk about Bills and Dolphins, we thought in the early part of this season, it might be good to talk about the situation that was just happening with Devon Achane and pulling down the curtain. We were close enough to the game hasn't started yet, but we know Achane's playing. But Steven brought up a good point of, with a guy like Achane, a no-brainer start if he was healthy. What would you do with the situation of, we don't know if he'll play or not? Is he going to be limited or not? How far do you drop him? Steven, what are your initial thoughts on a situation like this? If you're the Achane owner, what are you doing?
Well, I think they have him suiting up, because they already have Mostert. Is Mostert playing or is he out?
He's out.
That's right. He's out. So they kind of need more backs. There's a very good chance he doesn't see much work in this one, because they even said that Wright is starting or is going to make his debut. I saw one headline that said he's possibly starting. So in that scenario, he could just be in the, suited up in case they need him. And so that's the risk you run. Now, I think he's worth the risk because, I think we'd all agree he's one of the most dynamic playmakers in the league. Andrew, I had asked you guys, I said, where would you rank Achane? I'm trying to figure out where to put him. And you said 19 right behind ETN. And I had literally already put him there, and I was just looking for some sort of confirmation. But I think that feels about right. Because, again, there is a good chance you end up with a goose egg. We've seen it happen before. So I would play him in my flex, over maybe like a Jerome Ford type, but I'm playing it safe.
And I don't know if he's kind of a flex-esque play.
Yeah.
Do not put Achane in your flex. It's Thursday night football. You want to flexibility. You want to have the flexibility of swapping in that spot later on. Let's say another guy pops up on the injury report in a similar Achane situation, but he doesn't go last second. You want to have the flexibility of starting a receiver or a running back or a tight end, even if you get desperate enough. But yeah, I get your point.
Bad. You're correct. God,
that's the kind of play.
A classic mistake.
Yes, that's the kind of play he is, though. He's kind of a flex play. The reason we picked RB19 is that's right where it's the bell cows with bad matchups is kind of where that territory is, and that's why we put him right behind ETN.
Yep, like I'm playing him over like a Brian Robinson type. A lot of these guys I like this week, but this is he could score if it ends up being not that big a deal and he plays a lot, he could get you 40 points.
Exactly. Boom bust, and you just got to put up with it, and it's Thursday night football, so everyone's going to be watching it, and you're 50-50, you end up sad, or you look really good, and you'll figure it out and adjust for the rest of the week. Live to win another day. So, going into the matchups then. AJ, you got something prepped for us? Hit us with the first games, hit us with the over-unders, and we'll take it from there.
Alrighty, sounds good, Toysher. So game one, we've got the Saints taking on the Cowboys. Historically, when matched up, the Cowboys lead this series 18-13, and Dallas is favored by 6 with the over/under at 46.5.
This feels like a Dallas game all the way to me. Derek Carr having to go to Dallas to play doesn't sound like a Carr game to me. So I love Dallas in this one. On the Dallas side of the ball, CeeDee Lamb, I thought he looked really good last week. For all the holding out and the no training camp, no preseason, I thought he looked good against a very good defense. Now, it didn't show up that much in the box score, but I thought he looked good. I thought he looked fresh. I thought he looked like he's ready to go. Dak had that bad game last week. I think he bounces back. Now, the Saints, that's why early season's hard to look at. On paper, it looks like a tough matchup, but they also just went against Bryce Young. I think Dak Prescott at home should do quite a bit better in this one. I guess I don't like Zeke as much, but, Dak, Brandon Cooks, I like them on the Dallas side.
It should be noted that the Cowboys were winning by so much at halftime that they just stopped. Dak looked really good on the film. Lamb looked really good on the film. And they just didn't have to keep playing football because they were ahead by that much. And Deshaun Watson was just dreadful. We'll get to him later. So I think that played a big part of it.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the ball, I like Derek Carr this season. What do we say, Andrew? He's QB 16. That's where he'll end every year. But I'm not touching him this week. I don't care what he did last week in Dallas. I think we've talked about how he does not do well under pressure. I think against Dallas, he will be under pressure. So I think that's going to affect the whole team. The only two players I'm looking to start at all in this one are Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. Maybe Taysom Hill because tight ends, we've got some injured ones. Like we've got Njoku, who's going to be out, Ferguson, who's banged up. So maybe at tight end, depending on your options, he might be in play. But yeah, I'm really only looking for Olave. I'm not worried about the game Olave just had. Let's just chalk that up as one of those random fluky ones. It was weird looking at the target distribution in that game and seeing that would he have one target or one? Was it? He had one reception, right?
One reception, 2 targets. And this situation is really weird. All right. So this is going to teach us a lot about the season because both of these teams played another really bad team on the other side.
Yeah.
The Olave, I agree. I'm not concerned. They were up 17-0 on the Panthers, were the Saints in the first quarter. And at half, they were up 30-3.
Yeah.
So again, if you're talking about just stop throwing the football, that's what you're going to do. Olave had great route participation, and I'm not concerned about Olave at all. I thought this was a great game for him because now we know the offense is better. It used to be dump offs to Kamara or throw it to Olave. If you don't do those two things, you better hope Taysom Hill makes a weird big play. Yep. This gives me so much hope for the Saints offense. Steven, you don't want to touch Carr. I think Carr is such a risky play. This is week 2. We don't know. Was last week fluky? I believe in this offense. They're one of the highest users of motion now. It's not, and this offensive line actually played well. If you want to go DFS and go crazy, this is the game to target that I don't think many people are going to. If you need to start Derek Carr, you definitely can.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm staying away. I'm sticking with it, and I do think the ceiling's limited for Olave because I don't think Carr's going to have enough time. But I get your point. I just think it was the Panthers at home.
Yep.
Give me another data point.
But this is also a different kind of Dallas defense that's probably getting used to things a little bit. I don't know. This is a coin flip. This could be a 40-point blowout, or the Saints could upset. And it's going to be somewhere in between. Start Kamara every week. I'm fine with starting Zeke. I'm not starting any other Cowboy running back, but I don't want to start Zeke.
Yeah.
All right. That does it for us. AJ, next one.
All right. Next, we got the Buccaneers taking on the Lions. Lions are favored by 7.5, with the over-under being the largest for the week at 51.5. And one player that I want you guys to maybe consider reassessing is Chris Godwin. Today, I learned that his legal first name is Rod. Not sure how I feel about that one.
Rod Godwin.
That's a first name,
hey,
Rod.
AJ, I want you. Are you compiling this list? Because I want to put some sort of content out at some point. Things you didn't know from AJ Cleaver that I learned last week. That is, I had no idea. Why is Chris his middle name? What's the Chris for?
Yeah, Christopher's his middle name, so it's Rod Christopher Godwin.
Interesting.
All right, I'm moving him down in my rankings.
I like it more.
Oh,
I'm moving him up.
well, what do you think of the matchup, Steve?
Matchup's great. I already have him pretty high. I've got him as the wide receiver 12 this week, Andrew. Is that a little too
Ooh.
spicy?
I can't disagree with it. I mean, he had 20 plus points last week, so this is a great matchup.
Do you have his slot percentage from last week, Andrew?
I don't have it pulled up.
Okay.
I can go looking for it, but it was high.
Yeah, I already love what we saw last week. Again, Commanders, we have to keep that in mind. Literally, there's the Commanders secondary, and then a big gap, and then the 31st worst, however you say that, the next worst secondary. So I'll keep that in mind. But he had 8 targets, caught all of them, scored a touchdown. I love him this week. I like Mike Evans, obviously. This is just a testament, though, to the Detroit Lions. They're going to be like the highest over-under every week. And I think they have the highest implied total. So every time you face Detroit, those are the games you want your fantasy players in. So there's no situation where I'm sitting Godwin. I'm not sitting Evans. I really like Baker this week. Now, I don't think he's going to do what he did last week. I think he'll have a little bit more trouble on the road in Detroit, but I think he'll have a good one. I'm starting Rachaad White as well. Any concerns, Andrew, with White and Bucky Irving? Irving did get a little more work than we saw White, having to share last season. But any worries there from you?
Firstly, just got the Godwin numbers. He was at 50% slot. Wasn't as high as I would have guessed, but that is about 10 to 15% higher than last year.
Yeah.
So I think that does pay off. And with Rachaad White, I was worried before the season started about him. He was incredibly inefficient. Bucky Irving looked good all preseason, looked good to start the season. And I don't like this at all. And this is a huge, bad mismatch matchup for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers run game. Rachaad White is going to have to feast in the pass game for this to work out. And it should work out. The Lions need to go ahead early and make Rachaad White catch dump off passes. That is the only way he pays off. I do not love White among all the other weapons in this matchup.
Yeah. Well, you know what it reminds me of? This situation this year with him? It kind of reminds me of Miles Sanders when he was competing with Kenneth Gainwell. That it was just Gainwell was kind of like pestering at his workload during their whole time there. I could see that being Bucky Irving now with Rachaad White. Rachaad White had a bell cow role. I could see that leak away. And if that
it's already dropped 10% week 1, 10% from where it was last year on average.
And you got to think that's going to increase moving forward, right? The more we see Bucky Irving, the more they're going to want to utilize him. So I don't think any of us loved White. I think he was fine going as like RB15. I mean, he finished RB what? Did he finish RB4 last season? It was high. So where he was going ADP wise, I think he's still fine. Like I don't see him finishing as like RB28 or anything. But he was one of these guys I don't think any of us were necessarily targeting. We like some of the other players around that spot, but it is what it is. I think he's still fine, but just don't expect what he had last year.
Exactly. I'm not crazy about it. I don't love it. I had him lower in my rankings than most of us, I think. Godwin, Evans, though, absolute fire him up. Get excited. Utilization, amazing. Top 10 in the league utilization, both of them were. And it's a great matchup to fire up. Big over under. Love this matchup.
Now, let me ask you this. How far down the Lions pecking order are you like? I've got Goff as my QB 10. I've got St. Brown as my wide receiver 2. I got Gibbs in the top 10. I got him as the RB 9. I've got Montgomery as RB 20. I got Jameson Williams as wide receiver 34. So I think all of these guys are startable.
I agree. The Jameson Williams thing, it was way more real than I initially thought when I finally went back and looked at it. He's a legit wide receiver 3 in this matchup. I saw your ranking of him, Steven, in the 30s. That's exactly where I would have put him. 30% target share last year, 65 last week, 65% of the air yard share last week. So he's really a big part of this offense. We could see it vanish, poof, out of nowhere. So don't auto start him. But if you want to chase upside, let's say you start Devon Achane, he does nothing for you. You want to find a guy who could make up for that. That could be Williams.
Yep. And I do think that there's a chance if this keeps up that I still think St. Brown will be fine, but maybe not what we've been used to seeing from him. I do think it has to lower him and Laporta.
I'm
I
worried
think,
about Laporta.
yeah, because I mean that makes Laporta what, third in the pecking order if Williams steps up like he looked last week. So
Laporta is still a top 6 tight end, I think, no matter what happens with Williams, but it's not top 3, and you
no,
drafted him tight end 1 probably to get him on your team.
I bet he went tight end 1 in like what, 80% of leagues.
Yep.
All right, cool. Moving on.
All right, next we have your 1-19-1 Week 1 Colts taking on the Green Bay Packers. The Colts are favored this week, Toysher, so don't worry about that. But it's only by 2.5, and the
That's
over/under
disrespectful.
is 40.5.
That's darn right disrespectful, considering Malik Willis is the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
It does feel a little disrespectful. And that is in Green Bay. This is Malik Willis is going to see what he wishes he could be. Like the poorest of poor man's Anthony Richardson.
He's going to watch his big brother playing in the big lights and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll be that one day. Steven, I got a fun game for you. And AJ, you can play along too. Both of you take a stab. What's Willis's, in games he started, Malik Willis's average passing yards in a game?
I thought you were going to say, what's his real first name?
Oh, no. AJ, we got a fake name here. We'll look into that later.
I was going to say Chris, but...
How many passing yards do you think Malik Willis has averaged through 3 career starts?
I'm going to say like 67.
AJ?
I was going to go a little higher at 97.
It's 78. Guys,
Ooh.
how many completions per game?
9.
7.
8. Split the middle. Guys,
wow.
we're
good at what we do.
Exactly. Do not start a single wide receiver on the Packers. I can't do it. I love you, Jaden Reed.
And like he doesn't even, not that anybody's considering starting him, but he hasn't even provided much rushing upside. Like he was supposed to be this mobile quarterback, and then the games I've seen, he slips a lot, can't seem to get his footing. He looks, when I've watched him, he looks like the most rookie of rookies playing quarter. Like he doesn't even belong on an NFL field. I'm actually surprised. I want to see what he does over these next couple of games, because if he looks as bad as we've seen, he shouldn't be in the NFL. Like
I went to the game where Will Levis debuted, and it should be known that Malik Willis stepped on the field first, and he got booed off the field after playing like 4 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And they just did not bring him back. That was supposed to be Malik Willis's game, and the fans booed him to the bench and onto the Packers.
Oh, love it. All right, speaking of love it, I wish Anthony Richardson was a Bronco, Andrew. God, that guy's fun to watch.
He's mine.
I'm surprised you didn't get a decal of him back behind you.
Well, I was a little worried, like a little off chance he could stink and it wouldn't work out. Could you imagine how far can he throw a ball in the Denver Mile High?
Oh, seriously, no air cutting it down. You know what's funny? I jump rope when I exercise, and I'm down here in Texas. Something I've never realized, you can like feel the air. The thick air, like with a jump rope, you can feel it cutting through the air. So obviously it's the same with a football, but yeah, he would throw it end zone to end zone if he was in Mile High.
Welcome to humidity, Steve.
Yeah,
glad to have you.
So that throw that he threw to Pierce, insane, and he almost hit. Who's the other guy?
AD Mitchell twice.
Adonai. It was that arm is ridiculous. No, I'm so excited about him. I think he's a top 5 start every week until further notice. I know he's only had like 6 career starts, and he doesn't feel like he should be a complete rookie. I don't know. I know his completion percentage still isn't great. I don't care. This is a decent matchup in this one. I think he can definitely have a good game against Green Bay. He's going to be on the field a lot because the Packers are going to be going 3 and out a lot. So
what about the receivers though?
I like Pip. I think Pittman's a definite start. He had like a 44% target share last week. So I think the quality might not be great, but he'll have his moments. I think Mitchell, I'd have to be pretty desperate to start Mitchell at this point. I still want to wait and see. And the guy can score a touchdown, I think, at any moment. And he should have had 2 touchdowns last week. He was number 1 on our missing points chart. Just overthrown barely. He's more of a Hail Mary throw for me, though.
Rashid Shaheed is kind of the comparison I'm going to make here in terms of usage.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that it's basically AR, Taylor, Pittman. Now, the funny thing is Taylor handled 100% of the touches for the running backs, which you love to see. But it's still only 15, which I think this is one of those games that goes up, though. I think he's going to get.
People were really overblowing the lack of completions and lack of work by AR and all the receivers. Guys, when he throws down the field 60 yards, that's like 7 plays that he just negated on each throw. That's why there's no volume here.
Yeah, exactly. So no, but Taylor, I love him this week. I got him at RB5. I think especially because I am surprised it's only, you say it was 2.5, AJ?
Only 2.5 right now.
God, it
disrespectful.
Well, I respect the coaching staff in Green Bay.
That's true.
And the other players. So maybe it's that, but I don't respect Malik Willis I think the Colts will cover that.
So who will you start on the Packers?
Let me get to Green Bay. So they're running back. I will start Josh Jacobs. I think he's a mid-range RB2. The Colts gave up the most touches, the Colts. Yeah, sorry. They gave up the most touches last week. So I think Jacobs will get a lot of volume in this one. I think they're going to need to use him a lot because Malik Willis can't be trusted. I don't know if I'm starting any of the receivers, though.
Nope.
I don't think you can. Because, yeah, they could manipulate some touches to Jaden Reed, but I think that the Colts will know that's coming. So I really think it's Josh Jacobs or bust.
Again, 8 completions on average in the games Malik Willis plays. If you get 50% of the targets, let's say that goes to Jaden Reed, that is 4, or 50% of the catches, that is 4 catches. You're going to have to be darn good on those.
And just think last week playing Philadelphia, who has a bad secondary, Reed still only was targeted 6 times. Now, he was very efficient with those targets, huge plays. I think he caught all of them. And then he had the one end around that he ran for a touchdown. So the guy can score, but I'm not starting him.
Start really Jacobs. Start Jacobs. Get ready for people to complain about him not being efficient, because there's going to be 12 men in the box at all times, because they're going to say, Malik Willis, beat us with your arm, and he won't. One last note and nugget to leave us with before we move on. Tucker Kraft, do not start him this week. However, I think he is a great pickup. I'll put him high on my waiver wire next week when Jordan Love is back. Tucker Kraft is the tight end 1 for this team who loves using tight ends. I've loved Tucker Kraft since he was drafted 2 years ago. Tucker Kraft is a good note to keep in the back of your mind. All right, AJ,
alrighty,
next one.
We got the Jets taking on the Titans. Jets are favored by 4, and the over-under is 41.5. And I'm not sure if you guys saw what Brian Callahan said this week about last week's game, but he said that I'm pretty sure if we just punted on 1st and 10 on every drive, we might have won this game.
Oh, can you imagine hearing that?
Disrespectful to your own team.
I know.
I love it. Be real, Brian Callahan.
That's got to be good for the locker room. Breece Hall, definitely starting him in this one. He still had a good game against a very tough 49ers defense last week. So starting him, starting Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson looks, that connection's going to come. It felt like he was going to have a big game in that one. The 49ers just kind of put the clamps down, and the ball control that the 49ers had most of that game. It just didn't seem like they had a chance in that one. I think you're going to get those games from Allen Lazard every so often, but I'm not starting him. I'm not chasing what happened against San Francisco. And Aaron Rodgers, I'm still a wait and see. Obviously in a super flex league, I think you can start him, but still a wait and see on him.
It won't be a shootout. Will Levis was one of the lowest graded quarterbacks per PFF last week. And the Jets defense is the best in the NFL. You do not want to start Aaron Rodgers. He needs early touchdowns, or else he's going to be done by the second half.
Well, I think that Will Levis lost 50 points on his grade with that flick that he tried to throw with backhanded throw, which was one of the worst I've seen in football.
He actually lost 50 points for the Mayo commercials that he's been doing.
The perfume. Well, he started out in the hole with his grade.
The perfume and the Hellman's commercials and Will Levis. You make it so easy to hate you as a Colts fan. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What about Calvin Ridley though? Any thoughts of starting him? This is a very tough matchup for him. I'm not starting Hopkins until further notice. I think that knee is a problem. He said that he kind of tore it, so he's on the bench for me. But Ridley again popped up in missing points. He could have had a decent game last week. Any thoughts on him?
The only way I'd start him is if someone else stole my phone and put him in my lineup. This is a terrible matchup. Will Levis is awful. No. Don't do it.
Yeah, I think there's better options too.
Jameson
I've got him
Williams.
as a deep flex, like a desperation play. The only thing I'll say that is sort of okay is that they're playing at home. I mean, that's literally all I can give them.
He'll get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. I'm fine starting Tony Pollard, but again, only as like a flex. I'm not starting Tyjae Spears, not until further notice.
Pollard's got the most upside in this game. We saw Jordan Mason and the 49ers tear up the Jets on primetime.
But let's not compare the two, please. Well, not the running backs, just the offense in general that the 49ers run.
Right. But I'm saying they are gettable there. This is always the thing with the Jets is you can run. It's just what they do. Now, it won't be easy, but hypothetically, Pollard was the workhorse in terms of touches, not necessarily snaps. If I had to start, I could start Pollard as a flex.
Yep.
That's it, though. No one else. Conklin in a pinch, just to throw that out there. He actually played 90% of the routes. He was running 90% of the routes with the offense. Didn't expect that based on the numbers he put up. So Conklin's one to consider if you're really, really desperate.
Yeah, I didn't mention him. I've still got him as kind of a mid-range tight end too. So again, the David Njoku person, whoever drafted him, like myself, actually. There's some other tight ends I might like more than him that I'll mention as we go through. But yeah, in a pinch.
Excellent. I think that's it for that. Going to be a gross matchup.
Yeah, not watching that one. And I'll have the Red Zone channel on, so it probably won't come up very often.
No, you won't see that one.
Alrighty.
All right, AJ?
Next, we've got the 49ers taking on the Vikings. 49ers are favored by 5.5 with the over-under at 46.5. And this game's little tidbit is since Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017, the 49ers have had 41 rushing touchdowns by undrafted free agents.
What kind of stat? Who was putting those up? So that would have been like Matt Breida, maybe Raheem Mostert.
Oh, there's a laundry list of these guys. Andrew, it goes back to his dad.
Oh yeah, Papa Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, Mike. Sorry, I had Mark in my head. I was like, that's not right. No, I mean Olandis Gary, Mike Anderson, Terrell Davis, all these guys were kind of no names. So, I don't know. I think Kyle is probably the best offensive mind in the game right now. I mean, I love Andy Reid. He's got Patrick Mahomes. I just think if I'm picking one offensive-minded coach, I'm probably picking Kyle Shanahan.
It's him or McVay.
Yep. And no, this one, who I love in this one is Debo. I think Debo is going to have a big game. They just use him as like an extension of the run game when McCaffrey's out.
Literally.
He had I think 7 rush attempts this on Monday night, 17 total touches in the game. Just second to Cooper Kupp basically. So he's going to be utilized a ton. They're going to utilize him when they get in the red zone, bubble screens, end arounds. He might come out of the wishbone. He might be lined up as the running back. So I think he's going to be the top. I think he could finish top 10 this week. Brock Purdy, I don't love it as much on the road. Do you guys remember last year they did play Minnesota on the road and he had one of his dud games?
He threw 2 picks.
Yep. I still think I'm starting him in this one, but I'm nervous about it. So I've got him as the QB 11 right now, partly just because it's like, do you start him or Tua tonight? There's a few quarterbacks, or Matt Stafford, which I think I actually like Stafford potentially a little bit more than him.
I do.
But it's hard to go too far down with Purdy just based on how good the playmakers around him are. Jordan Mason, he's definitely startable, but I'm not chasing last week's points. I think that on the road, this is going to be a tougher matchup against Minnesota. I think Brandon Ayuk, don't take too much from what happened last week. I think, would you be shocked if he had the big game this week, or George Kittle? This offense, just don't overthink it. I think you start all your 49ers, including Mason.
Brock Purdy, he's bad against these defenses that are complicated. And I know that sounds stupid, but like the Flores defense is intentionally complicated because the players generally suck. Like last year, that's why he was so bad. You have guys flying around everywhere. And so Purdy, I don't love in this matchup, like you said, but Debo, the reason we love him so much, you play Debo against teams that are zone heavy. This team is top 5 last week in zone usage, top 10 last year with Flores and zone usage, play Debo against the zone. And yeah, I'll still start Ayuk and all the Niners per usual. No big shock there. What about your Vikings?
Well, I was just going to say, I think that goes to the point of like why we mentioned on one podcast, I had said, is it even worth drafting a pocket passer? And the reason being, like even someone like Purdy in this amazing offense, you get in certain situations and it's like, oh, I could see him getting shut down. He's got no back door he can go through and give you like the rushing yards or give you a little goal line carry. So that's the problem with drafting a player like Brock Purdy and why he wasn't ranked as high in our rankings and on consensus for the most part, even though he finished much higher last year.
Speaking of pocket quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, anyone?
No. Listen. Everyone talked about he started 10 of 10, and Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 1 season is in effect. Well, I mean, Jefferson was fine. He had 15 fantasy points, and maybe that's his floor. But I don't know. We still haven't seen bad Sam Darnold yet, and it will come, Andrew. Bad Sam Darnold.
Giants.
It was the Giants. That team is just morally, emotionally just destroyed. Like, I just don't see a lot of fire out of that team. I don't think Daniel Jones oozes fire, with his teammates. Does he
he's
have
got a beard now. He's got a beard. That's his aura.
Does he have a captain patch on his jersey? He can't.
Ooh.
He doesn't look like a captain.
I will do research into this.
Yeah. Get on that because he doesn't feel like a captain. If your quarterback can't lead the ship, I don't think that the rest of the team plays as hard. So back to the Vikings, though. Obviously, you're starting Justin Jefferson, but I could see a comeback down to earth for all of these offensive players. Aaron Jones, I think this is going to be a much tougher matchup for him. The only two I'm looking to start, Jefferson, Jones, that's it.
I think Aaron Jones is going to be a big part of the success and failure. If they succeed, if the Vikings are really good, you're going to see Jones handle the ball a lot. Again, they'll just try to tick down the clock like they did last week. And I think Aaron Jones is going to be involved in the check down passing game. If somehow the team if they get far behind, which is very likely in this matchup. So I just think Jones is going to find a way to get involved. We actually saw him tear up the Niners in that in the playoff game against Green Bay. Now it's a different team, but
kind of a similar system though.
Yeah, very similar system. We'll see what happens. It's actually not a bad matchup for the run block unit versus the run defense unit of the Niners. Now, the issue is this is supposed to be a really bad matchup for Darnold staying clean in the pocket. So that's also kind of why I lean Jones not being a bad start here.
I think he's getting you like ceiling 15 points, floor 6. I really think that's a possibility.
I think he could go higher than that, but yeah, right. The floor is definitely in the basement.
Okay.
AJ, what's the next one?
All right, next we have the Seahawks playing the Patriots. Seahawks are favored by 3.5 with the over-under being one of the lower ones for this week at 38.5. And Toyster, since you had a fun
very low
guess-em game, Toyster, since you had a fun guess-em game earlier, I got one for you guys. The Patriots have one player rostered on their team with 800 or more receiving yards in a season. Any guesses on who that player is?
I've got 2.
The guy they got from Minnesota. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Oh, I've got 3 guesses now. All right, guess number 1 is KJ Osborne.
That's who I was looking for. Sorry.
No, I guess 2, Kendrick Bourne.
Oh, Hunter Henry.
There you go.
Hunter Henry was my 3rd guess. Kendrick Bourne had some decent years. Put some respect on it.
It was only 800 yards.
Put some respect on the name.
This is such a what's funny too. Don't they have Hooper, Austin Hooper as the other tight end? Like they just get these old, tight ends that were okay at one point and they just recycle through them. Like they had Jonnu Smith for that little stint. Hunter Henry. Yeah, this is a team. You don't want your team running around the tight ends.
No, not those tight ends. No, you do not.
Not those ones. Yeah, does it feel at all like this could be a little bit of a trap game for the Seahawks?
Oh, absolutely. Kind of like it was for the Bengals.
Traveling, how many miles is it from AJ? Stat. Seattle to Foxborough, go. Because that is a long flight. And I could see this being a little bit of a trap game. That 37.5 point over-under scares the crap out of me. You're still starting Kenneth Walker. You're starting DK Metcalf.
If Kenneth Walker is healthy.
Yeah, if he's healthy. Sorry. We should preface that. He don't know what his latest practice report is, but if he's healthy, I don't care. I'm still starting him. If he doesn't go, I'm still probably going to start Charbonnet because I think he can do enough getting all the work. He would get a ton of volume in this one. So I would still start him, but I don't know. I don't know that I want to start Lockett. I'm not really looking to start Geno in this one either. I'm a little bit scared of that. Vegas is smart.
I'm very scared off of it. It looks like Walker did not practice again today. That report just came out because it's from the West Coast. So Walker, I think, is the only one I'm excited to start, but you have to start.
I'm not excited to
Metcalf.
start him. Yeah.
I would have been excited to start him. He got absolute workhorse role kind of stuff. Got involved in the receiving game.
No. I mean, I'm not excited to start him if he's banged up.
Oh yeah,
I'm still starting him, but sorry.
More than likely, he's not playing. I'm not, for that reason, I'm not starting Charbonnet. The one thing, the Patriots defense, really good at stopping the run. I'm not playing Charbonnet unless I have to. I think he's like a borderline RB3 for me if I have to play Charbonnet.
Okay. No, that makes sense. All right, New England side of the ball. If you haven't traded away Ramondre Stevenson, just know he's not getting you probably 25 points this week. This is a tougher matchup, I think. In this one, I think he'll come back down to earth. I don't think he's going to get, what did he get, like 80% of the snaps last week? I don't think that's going to be an every week thing. I did hear that Antonio Gibson, he'd been injured leading up to that game. If he's more healthy, I do think we'll see more Gibson. I still starting Stevenson. And I had people like, how do you not have him ranked in your top 10? Well, this offense is still bad. Just don't forget that 37.5 point over under. That's really low. I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. If he doesn't get you a touchdown, I think it's going to be a bad game. I still have him as a mid-range. I got him at RB14 right now. So I actually think that's pretty generous, but I'm not chasing last week's points thinking that's going to be an every week thing.
We told you ahead of time that was a terrible, might be the worst pass or rush defense in the NFL is the Bengals. I think that's going to happen to them every single week. So we told you that's going to happen, but we don't like Ramondre rest of season, especially when Drake May gets there. That's going to be sound the panic alarm unless the offense gets really good with Drake May, which it won't because of who they're passing to. You're not going to get checkdowns. You got to get out of Ramondre. I would try to do it now. I think this week will still be okay. But sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, keep going.
I was just going to move on to the wide receivers and say the only one I'm excited to start there, not excited, will start there is DK Metcalf, but even he has a bad matchup against Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah. We're not starting any of the receivers for the Patriots. Not until further notice. Not until Jacoby Brissett is not the quarterback. I love my new thing that I've heard other people do is Jacoby Brissett looks like he's playing Jacoby Brissett in a movie. With did you see that with Garrett Wilson?
No,
because they've got the baggy sleeves. They have these baggy sleeves. Like you ever watch a football movie, the players always have the baggy sleeves. It's not like tight up by the shoulder pad.
Okay.
And so go look at Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. I don't know if they're just, it's a fashion thing with them, but it looks funny. It just looks like they're like these kids in like too big of uniforms. That's Jacoby Brissett as well. He looks like the Replacements. He does look like a replacement player from the Replacements. I get it. He's serviceable, but man, can we move on? It's just not fun. It's not fun watching him start.
Let's move on from this game. Get us out of it. Sit everyone you can. AJ, what's the next one?
So next we've got the Giants taking on the Commanders. Washington is favored by 1.5, and the over/under is 43.5. And I'm not sure if you guys caught this little snip last week from the Vikings players, but some of the defensemen said that they started to feel bad for Daniel Jones halfway through that game.
Again, disrespectful, but I absolutely love it.
And he does have a I feel bad for you face. I will say that when I look at him, he just looks kind of like a little innocent puppy out there that doesn't know it just crapped on the lawn. And
he is a captain, by the way.
He is. Okay. Thanks for. I think that's just default. They give it to the quarterback, But okay, Andrew, talk me out of this. So tomorrow morning, bright and early, I got to work on my start-sit post.
Who are you starting?
Well, I'm debating putting Daniel Jones on it.
Steven, I have it written on here. Borderline top 12 play Daniel Jones. DFS, I'm putting him in because the Commanders'
Okay.
defense is so bad, and they just lost one of their corners who weren't good. So now you're going to play the guy who is behind the bad corner. But Neighbors just popped up on the practice report as with an injury. I'm a little nervous. I don't think I'll start him if Neighbors doesn't play.
I don't know. I think I probably he won't be in the article probably if Neighbors is no go. But yeah, this is first of all, even if you have Jordan Love, you may have gotten a better option than Daniel Jones. This is like the most desperate of desperation starts. But I don't know. They already started running him last week. He had 6 rushing attempts. Daniel Jones did. I think he's still going to run a little bit. And let's not forget how horrifically awful this Commander's secondary is.
So bad.
I think he's somewhat startable, but only in really deep leagues or, like you said, DFS or if you're doing some bets. I'd probably take the over on maybe some of the Daniel Jones props that might be out there. I really hope that Malik Neighbors plays, though. I am starting him if he plays. I've got him currently as the wide receiver 13. I did my rankings before that note popped up on the injury report, so I will probably move him down. But
it could be nothing, but it popped up today.
A lot of times they have the maintenance days.
We think it happened inside of that practice. Like he actually did have some sort of injury.
Okay.
I'll ask you this, Steven. Neighbors plays. Are you starting Daniel Jones or Brock Purdy?
I'm still starting Brock Purdy.
Are you starting Daniel Jones or Baker Mayfield against the Lions?
I'm Baker Mayfield.
All right. How about Tua tonight? Who do you like better? Let's to give people a sense.
I would still start Tua.
Okay, so you're still more around that QB 15 to 20.
I've got
range.
Daniel Jones right now at QB 18. It's just I just want to point out that I really like the matchup.
It's very, very solid. If he's ever startable, it's this week.
Yep. You know who else is startable is Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, whoo! And especially if Neighbors is out. Now, ceiling's not very high, but if he's going to get a 40-some% target share every week, which he's not, but if he's going to get, he'll be used. I think we like this guy coming out. He just got injured a lot. So I think as like a little dump off security blanket for Jones, who no longer has Saquon Barkley, I think he's startable. In deep leagues, like startable
PPR.
Yeah. Startable is like your wide receiver 3 or second flex.
Yeah.
Let me clarify that. And then Singletary, this is what we thought, Andrew. Decent volume, but it's gonna be ugly. But in this game, I think it could be better.
Devin Singletary is the best running back in the league, but yes, I thought he'd do something like 15 opportunities and scoring 9 fantasy points. It's just gonna be so ugly.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where you see him getting all this work, and you're watching like he's going against you, and you're like, oh, that's not too much. Oh, that's not too bad. But it happens enough where you're like, oh, God, he actually ended up with 9 points, which he's never gonna beat you, but he probably won't kill you in your lineup.
If the Commanders can stop anything on defense, it's the run. I am dodging Devin Singletary where I can.
Yep, I've got him as an RB3, if that helps.
Yep.
I'm so glad we talked about Jaden Daniels all off season about how much we loved him because God, didn't that look fun? On opening week. So Daniel Jones, he's my QB7 this week. It was like a coin flip between him and Kyler Murray.
Who's your QB7?
Sorry, what did I say? Daniel Jones?
You said Daniel Jones.
Let's
make sure we walk that back.
Jaden Daniels.
There
QB7.
It is.
I got him as my QB7. I was debating between him or Kyler Murray. Right now, I have Kyler Murray one spot ahead of him. I might flip that. I don't know. The rushing upside is there. He had 16 rushing attempts last week. That's what we thought was going to happen, Andrew. We thought he was going to get a lot of rushing work. He did it in college a lot. Literally the only worry is if he gets hurt. That's the only worry I have with him. He doesn't provide a ton right now in the passing game, but don't really care. They even gave him. There was I had recommended. It didn't really help. Didn't make much of a difference, but I recommended sitting Brian Robinson last week, and I was like, he's already having a decent game. And then they got to like the 1 yard line, and they're in the shotgun, and they do the read option, and I'm like, oh God, this is going to look even worse now. Brian Robinson's going to get another touchdown. And no, Jaden Daniels took it in. I think his helmet popped off on the play. So there was that, but he's not a guy I think of like as a goal line running or quarterback, but I mean, they're giving him the work. So the guy's just got a huge ceiling.
He's not tiny. It's just he's really skinny to his frame.
Yeah.
So he looks very breakable.
He looks like Lamar Jackson. Very similar build.
Exactly.
Terry McLaurin, I've got him as a wide receiver 3 this week. I think he's definitely startable.
It's a great matchup.
It is a good matchup. So I don't like him as much as, a player like Godwin, who I think they're similar ADPs when they were drafted, but definitely starting him. Brian Robinson, I'm starting him in this one. It's a good matchup for the running backs as well. I'm probably still a wait and see on Austin Eckler in this one.
I've waited. I got nothing. You're done, Austin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think, God, the guy is such a freak athlete. I got to think at some point he can have a decent game. But
give up, Steven. He's old.
Yeah, he is old. And then Zach Ertz.
Speaking of old guys,
he's the guy I was saying. We were talking about tight ends earlier. He's a guy I kind of like this week. I'm not getting cute and starting him over any of the stud tight ends that had a bad week. But I think Zach Ertz, he's getting he'll get a decent enough volume in this one. And I think it's a decent enough matchup that you could plug him in.
And you can drop Ben Sinnott. The people who were hoping drafted him really late. Ben Sinnott ran 9% of the team's routes.
Yikes.
So you can go ahead and let him go and embrace the Zach Ertz of it all.
Yep. I mean, it's not going to be amazing, but Ertz did get 4 targets last week. I think he's the guy that is probably going to get some of the easy stuff from Jaden. So if you're in a bind, I think he's startable. And honestly, if you look at Zach Ertz's schedule going forward, now it's early in the season. This stuff could change, but he looks like on paper like he could have a decent schedule going forward.
I'll start Jaden Daniels, Terry, Brian Robinson, and Ertz if I'm desperate. I really don't want to start any one of the Giants except for Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones if Neighbors plays.
Sounds good.
AJ, next one.
Alrighty, next we've got the Chargers taking on the Panthers. Chargers are favored by 5. Over under is 38.5. And these two teams have only seen each other 7 times, with the Chargers winning 6 of those matchups, and in 3 of those games they have hit the over.
They're what'd you say? They're 6-1 versus them?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the Chargers are 6-1.
I wonder how many of those were in Carolina. That again. AJ, did you ever get me the mileage for Seattle to Foxborough?
Yes, I did grab that. It was 2,845.
Wow.
Just under 3K. That is a commute.
Yeah, I'm not running that. That's going to be a long flight.
Well, I think LA is going to have a similar type of commute in this one. Loved what I saw to J.K. Dobbins last week. He was a guy, when I was doing a lot of these best ball drafts, not best ball drafts, mock drafts. He was a guy like earlier in the process I was taking every time where he was getting drafted, every single time. And then some of the injury, the Twitter injury guys out there were making me a little nervous and it could still happen. Guy could still get hurt, but making me a little bit nervous with the injury stuff. But man, if you drafted him, I think you're feeling pretty good about it right now.
Oh, big time. This could be the Kyren Williams of this year. People were saying, he got chased down on a couple of long runs. Dude, he had a couple of long runs.
Yeah.
There are people who do get chased down. The usage, good offense. That line for the Chargers, incredible. And he's the passing down back. So he's going to play in all game scripts. Buy in.
Yep. No, I'm pretty excited about him. And the guy needs a break. I'm rooting for the guy. The guy has been so unlucky to start his career. But the one thing he's always been, super efficient. And okay, well, he played with Lamar Jackson, so there's some of that. But 13.5 yards per carry this week, or last week, 10 attempts, 3 targets. And now he didn't do anything with those targets, but we know the guy is explosive. He can, have some big plays here and there.
He was an incredible prospect. Loved him.
He was. It's crazy he's already 25 years old because it feels like has he even played 25 games? I don't even think he's played that many.
Probably not.
No, but starting him in this one. Herbert, though, I got to wait on Justin. That volume was so low last week from him. It makes me nervous. Now, I think there's still a chance he could have like a Brock Purdy type of efficiency. Maybe not that high, not as high as Brock Purdy was what we've seen, but he could be an efficient quarterback, but it wasn't really the case last week as much. So I'm waiting to see on him.
The question on Herbert is, do you think he's going to be Derek Carr and have 20 points at halftime and stop, or do you think he'll be Dak and score these runs on the ground or with the defense and stop in the second half with only 10 points?
Yeah.
So it's very, very risky.
And he'll have like 200 passing yards if you're lucky. So that's the worry with Herbert. So wait and see on him. Lad McConkey, fine starting him as a wide receiver 3. Josh Palmer, I did not like what I saw last week. He could have had a touchdown, but that would have just made it like an 11-point game. I think he dropped one.
I loved the fight, though. That's bonus points. That should be fantasy points scored if you get in a fight.
It's kind of like hockey.
Yeah.
Now, are you touching Hayden Hurst in a revenge game? Because this could be.
No, I'm not. No, okay. I'm not playing Hayden Hurst.
Okay.
No,
I was just going to say that.
Make me, Steven.
Okay, I just you love a fight, so I just wanted to make sure. For the record, it is a good matchup. I'm only going to say that if he does have a good game, I'll say, well, I told you it's a good matchup.
Yeah, it just, can the Chargers score enough? Can the key players score enough in the early part of the game to be worth it?
Carolina side of the ball, is there anyone you can start on this team? The running backs, good God, not only was the volume not there, the little bit of volume they got was split. I think each back got about 7 touches in this one. So I'm not touching the running backs in this one. The only player I would even consider is Deontay Johnson, and I'm not even excited about that. I think this is a full sit.
Yep. I mean, Chuba Hubbard got 55% of the snaps. I was drafting him assuming that they would play him a whole bunch, just kind of like what you said. What is really encouraging is Xavier Legette getting all of the targets that he did. He led the team in targets, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, was a lot of that in garbage time? Not to say there won't be garbage time in a lot of these games this year, but
I can't tell you. I mean, he was playing a decent percent of the 59% of the snaps for Legette. So I don't know. He at least is drawing targets, and that's a lot you can ask for a rookie. This is gross, though. Do not start a single Panther. Don't do it. Don't hate yourself. Have fun. Don't start a Panther.
No, I agree. There's better teams to have your players on.
Exactly. AJ, get us out of this game.
Alrighty, next we got the Browns taking on the Jags. Jags are favored by 3. Over under is 41.5. And no matter what you guys say, you cannot sell me on ETN this week. He cost me an 8-leg pick'em with underdog last week, so I am out on ETN this week.
Was that the only? It was just him.
Yeah, it was just him. Now, luckily, underdog has those like flex picks, so it was like a 7 out of 8, but still not quite the payout.
Please tell me it wasn't a touchdown score or something.
No, it was him over 12.5 fantasy points.
Yes,
So that call out of the end zone.
And AJ, we had recommended that as a prop that we liked as well, and so I feel your pain on that one. Not quite to the same extent, but
ETN fumbled on the 1-yard line. That is what we're referencing. That hurts so bad.
And he fell in the end zone. Now I will say the guy did make a great play to strip the ball out. It wasn't like ETN just bounced it off his knee or something. But yeah, that was brutal to watch. God, doesn't it feel like a lot of these games are gross? Like 41.5 over under for this one. Not excited about it. I'm fine throwing Amari Cooper in my lineup. I think he could have had a better week. I have him as a wide receiver 3 though. But I think the Jags can be thrown on. So I'm starting him. Starting Ford. It might not be pretty, but I think he'll get plenty of work in this one. He's kind of a bell cow right now for the Browns. So if you drafted him, I think you're in good shape, at least until Chubb returns. So I'm starting him.
He had 73% of snaps and 86% of the team touches and 18% of the team target percentage. So he's matchup proof almost.
No. Yep. So it's basically those two guys for me, though, especially with Njoku out. I think they'll be more consolidated between. Yeah, that's why I think Amari Cooper could have a good game in this one. One, because he's a good player, but also I think he could get targeted a ton.
It's a good matchup, too.
Yep. And then Jacksonville, let me get over there. This is scary, too. This defense is scary good. You saw it with Dallas last week. I mean, I'm not benching ETN, but I'm scared of him laying an egg in this one.
PFF has a grade on this matchup, and for ETN, it's out of 10, 0.
It's a 0. Yeah, it's a bad matchup. Not expecting. I mean, if you're in a shallow league, he could be benchable in this one. Evan Ingram, kind of the same thing. I did not see the volume I wanted to see last week out of him. That's a lower floor than I was even expecting for Ingram. I hope that's a one-off, but we'll see. I think you still have to start him though. Every tight end. Fortunately, he didn't kill you last week. That can be said for every tight end. You started Travis Kelce. Oh, geez, I'm going to get killed now. Nope. Every other tight end did bad too. So hopefully it was just maybe all the tight ends alarm clocks didn't get set or something. But
it was the opposite of National Tight End Day.
Yeah,
They just
it
National
was.
No Tight End Day. National Rest Day. Maybe they didn't get Labor Day off and they picked this day.
Yeah, maybe this is like a movement, like they're protesting or something.
It's like a flex holiday, like you'd get at work if you already had the day off. That's what we're telling ourselves.
Yeah. But I think you have to start him. I'm still throwing in Ingram, but I'm not expecting a big game from him. I'm nervous about Christian Kirk. He's more of a flex option for me. I think there is a chance we see Brian Thomas. Maybe he already has surpassed Kirk in the pecking order. That guy's a good wide receiver. I think he's kind of a flex play this week.
He led the team in targets. Unfortunately, it was 4. Trevor Lawrence was really spreading the ball around. And if there's going to be it was low volume because this game was disgusting. But if you're going to have low volume, you want the guy who's running really far downfield. Now, Trevor Lawrence's ADOT was kind of ridiculous in this game. The only guy catching shallow targets was Ingram, and even his ADOT was up from the average. But Thomas is the only guy I would consider starting out of the receiver core. Cleveland has one of the best slot corners in Greg Newsome and one of the best outside corners in Denzel Ward. Now, we're hoping maybe Thomas that all the receivers moved around to a lot of different spots. So maybe Thomas gets away from the Denzel Ward a little bit, and we're hoping he explodes there. But this is not a great matchup.
No, is there some sort of, I wonder the two Clemson quarterbacks going head to head to prove who's the best Clemson
I didn't
quarterback.
Even think about that.
Yeah, maybe that'll inspire each one to play a little bit better in this game. We can only hope.
Who does Dabo love more? The Dabo trophy is whoever wins this game, it gets the Dabo.
Yeah, with this, off the field stuff that's happened with Deshaun, if he had to answer, I think I know where he's going.
Yeah, this is going to be disgusting. I don't want to start a lot of guys in this game, but sometimes you're just going to have to.
This feels like a lot of games this week. It feels like there's a lot of disgusting games.
A lot of the good teams are playing good offenses. So, AJ, take us to a better one, please.
We might have to wait a little bit for that. But we have the Raiders taking on the Ravens. Ravens are favored by 9. Over-under is 41.5. But the last 6 times that they've played each other, they have scored over 55 of those 6 times. And the lowest combined score out of those 6 was 47.
So you say that the Ravens are going to score over 50. That's what I heard.
Not quite, but combined, we can only hope that they score over 50.
They could.
No, I think I think there's a good shot that they'll score over 40. Like, I think that could happen. No, this is gonna be a blowout. They're 8.5-point favorites. If you traded away Derrick Henry last week because you didn't like what you saw, you're gonna regret it this week. I think he goes over 100 rushing yards. I think he gets 2 rushing touchdowns. I got him as the RB10. You're gonna see the Derrick Henry you were hoping for in this matchup. So. And again, Zay Flowers didn't show up in the box score last week, but I loved what I saw. I thought the eye test, he looked amazing. So I'm fine starting him as a back in
12 opportunities. So even if he doesn't get efficiency, he's got volume. Now, Steven, Derrick Henry, this is actually a really tough matchup. And if he does get ahead by enough, if the Ravens do, they might give the ball to someone else. I'm actually a little worried that it's not a phenomenal matchup for Henry, but I do think he'll do better than last week.
So you're worried you're going to be sad with 20 points at halftime, and then they stop using him.
He won't get 20. Yeah, I mean, it could happen. That's what I'm hoping for.
You know what, Andrew, start a sheet. We need board bet sheets for this. Like, we got to have at least one per week. Like a couple bucks here and there. Derrick Henry by halftime has 20 fantasy points. That's my bold call.
Let's get some gambling rings set up for this. I would love to take this action.
Okay. 20 points at halftime, Derrick Henry. I'm still starting Mark Andrews. And I think if I picked up Likely off the waivers, there's a good shot I'm starting him as well. I don't think, we had him as a sell. We're selling him on that performance, not as like a get what you can for him situation, because I think that he'll be utilized too. But people realize Mark Andrews is still a good tight end. He's going to have his games. Likely is not overtaking him. He's complimenting him, and he's going to have bad games. It could be as quick as this week, but I still think he's startable in this one. I got him as a tight end 11 on the week.
The people who criticize Evan Ingram, you need to go criticize Isaiah Likely. Everything was just flat, quick out. It was the least invigorating route tree I could have possibly seen. So yes, Mark Andrews, bye.
But that touchdown he scored, you have to admit,
That was sick.
That was insane. That was and the second touchdown he could have had if he was Tom Dempsey, if he had his foot, Tom Dempsey's foot. I think that that was an amazing play. Also, they trusted him to just throw a jump ball to him, and he came down with it. Just was a grass blade too short. But
Steven, please tell people who were not born in the Jurassic period who Tom Dempsey is.
he was a kicker for the Saints back in like the 60s that had the longest field goal that stood for like 30 years. It was a 63-yard field goal that he kicked. He had half a foot. His foot was a club essentially. He also had I think he was missing a hand too on one. I don't know if it was a birth. It was probably, I think it might have been a birth defect. I don't remember fully, but the guy had the longest kick in NFL history for a very long time. And like I said, if only Likely had his foot, that would have been
Or
a
just
touchdown.
wear white cleats.
Yeah,
Either one.
yeah, that's a good call. But no, I think the Ravens are going up big. If you've got their defense, they might get you 20 points also.
Oh yeah. Fire that up.
And then on the Las Vegas side, I mean, there's not a lot to get excited about. It's really Devontae Adams, and that's about it. I mean, Brock Bowers, I like the usage I saw out of him, but this is a very good defense. This is another long flight, Andrew, from Vegas to Baltimore, Maryland. Not a fun flight. So I think Bowers is okay. I think he's gonna have a tough game though too. Him and Adams they're not gonna get you a whole lot, but I think they're both startable.
First game as a tight end in his rookie season, and he got a 23% target share. That's so
good.
impressive for Bowers. I am so buying into that, and Minshew's the perfect guy to do it because Minshew likes throwing short where Bowers will be running. I would rather start Alexander Mattison over Zamir White in this game. I don't think it's a hot take. I just think that's the truth based on utilization.
Don't start either one, though.
No,
I'm telling you, do not start either one. Like, you don't want part of this offense.
No, nothing to do with it.
Andrew, they have 16.5 implied points. That's pretty much as low as you typically see from an offense.
You'll get Adams and Bowers off receptions, and that's basically it. Start your Ravens, sit your Raiders. AJ, what's the next one?
All right, we got our first 3:00 game next with the Rams and Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 1. Over under is 47.5. And gentlemen, are you concerned by Kyler Murray's comments this week saying that it is not his job to get the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
No,
not at all. That's just Kyler. Kyler's kind of a jerk. He's a little small jerk. He's like a toddler. He needs a nap.
He comes across as just kind of entitled. Is
yes.
what it feels like to me when I hear his comments. But no, I'm not worried about it. I was going to talk about the Rams first, but let me go over to Arizona. You know what though? I'm moving Jaden Daniels ahead of him because of that comment. So I have him as my QB6 right now. He's going to QB7.
That'll teach him.
Yeah,
that'll teach him.
I'm sure he listens to the podcast, so he'll be upset by that. Maybe change his ways. James Conner, I think he's unbenchable for the unforeseen future. I've got him as the RB11 this week. This is a good matchup against a Aaron Donald-less Rams unit, so I love him in this one. Harrison, you're obviously starting him. I'm not as excited as I was going into the season, but I think he'll be fine. So you're still starting him. Trey McBride, still start. Great matchup for him. PFF loves this. They got it as an almost perfect matchup for him. I think he has a big week in this one. And I mean, it's a desperation throw, but Greg, the what's his nickname? Is it the Torch? The Torch Dorch?
I don't know if he has a nickname. Dorch is a good enough last name.
Yeah, actually, Dorch nobody called him Greg in high school.
No.
Just Dorch.
Dorch.
Hey, Dorch. Yeah. He had a good game last week. I'm probably not chasing those points, though. I'd probably prefer him being on my bench.
Fun fact, in terms of matchups per ranked by PFF, James Conner has the second best matchup of the week. And on the other side, Kyron has the best matchup. So this is James Conner's offense. He gets all of the work. Start him. He's going to be one of the best plays this week, I believe it. And Marvin Harrison Jr., hopefully they get him more involved. The Buffalo defense is really good, and I think they schemed him out. But it's concerning that the wide receivers just didn't do anything at all for the Cardinals offense. There was one completion of over 10 air yards by Kyler.
Wow.
Which doesn't seem very Kyler.
No, it doesn't. But I don't know. He didn't play at all in the preseason. Nobody really played. So that was a tough matchup on the road. Give it some time.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the ball, two of my favorite plays this week, three of them are Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, and Kyron Williams. I've got Kupp as my wide receiver 4. I've got Kyron as my RB4. And Stafford, after us talking about Brock Purdy and stuff a little bit, I think I'm going to swap Purdy and Stafford in my rankings. I got Stafford right now at QB 13 and Brock at QB 11. I'll probably just swap those two because it's a really good matchup for Cooper Kupp. And I don't know, AJ, you probably didn't pull any data on this, but just my gut feeling, I feel like the Rams own this matchup with Sean McVay. I feel like every time the Cardinals have been good and it looks like they're going to go to the postseason or have that good record, they had that last game of the season versus the Rams and get thumped. So I think the Rams go off in this one. If I'm not mistaken, two of Kyron's best games last year came against the Cardinals. So I think he probably puts up a monster game in this one.
I'm slightly worried. The Rams offensive line is so injured, and it wasn't great to start. So it has me slightly worried in a worse matchup. This one, though, I am perfectly fine. There is that slight, like if I'm going into a league, Survivor League, where you have to pick a game, I'm not picking the Rams to win I think people would think this is a good Survivor pick for the Rams to beat the Cardinals, but they're not even favored. So stay away.
Was that surprising to you at all? I was a little surprised by that. I kind of thought they might be favored.
It's just the health. I think a lot of that offensive line and Puka's out, and it's home for the Cardinals, and they play close with the Bills. They were beating the Bills for a long time.
All right, I have the stats. So in 2 games versus the Cardinals last year, Kyron Williams put up, if I can do my math here, just under 60 fantasy points in 2 games.
Wow.
So yeah,
Start him.
He's going to have a big game. Another guy I actually in desperation mode, I've had some people ask this question. Everybody's different. Some people are in deeper leagues. Demarcus Robinson.
Yep.
I think he could be startable in this one.
Flex play for sure.
Very good flex play. PFF loves the matchup. Oh my God. It's like, look at the PFF matchups for every single position. They're all 10 out of 10. And even Colby Parkinson's a 9.8 out of 10. So he might even be in play in this one. I've actually got him as a back end tight end 1. So again, Njoku owners, myself included here, play Parkinson.
This will be a fun game, but AJ, we've got to move on from it. What's the next one?
I think you might regret saying that after you see this matchup. We've got your AFC North leaders, the Pittsburgh Steelers, yet to score a touchdown, taking on the Broncos.
Woo! AJ, we got to get a bet on this thing, man.
Well, the Steelers are going to be a run-heavy team, and Steve, it's a good thing the Broncos have a really good run defense, right?
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We've talked enough about this one. 36.5 over under. At least I took that yesterday. Is that still it? Oh my gosh, that's disgusting.
You know what? That might be one of the lowest ones I've seen since I've been doing this.
With all teams, both these teams are as healthy as they can probably be. Russell Wilson, whatever. That's not significant enough. 36.5.
I think the only time I can think of a lower one was remember the COVID season?
Yeah.
When the Broncos didn't have a quarterback and they had to play Kendall Hinton, a wide receiver at quarterback. I think that's the only time I've seen a lower. And I think Taysom Hill was the quarterback on the other side. It was literally 2 non-quarterbacks playing against each other. So I feel like that's the only time I've seen a lower one. Having said that, I might throw Justin Fields in a lineup if I had to.
I think he's top 15.
Yeah, I think he could have a good matchup in this one, just, again, based on rushing alone. I don't expect him to throw a bunch of touchdown passes. I don't love the matchup for George Pickens. We saw DK Metcalf kind of get blanked last week. I could see the same thing happening for Pickens. Now, I think he could get a catch or 2 on Surtain, some contested catches, but what's it really going to produce? I don't see it producing like touchdowns or a lot of yards. So I've got him as a wide receiver 3. But I temper expectations to this one. I actually like Najee Harris a little bit in this one, just based on the matchup. So I'm fine starting him. But other than that, not too excited about a lot of the other options. I will start Freiermuth, though. I know Denver, they didn't give up that many points to Noah Fant last week. But trust me, as a Broncos fan, this is a team that's historically not been very good at stopping the tight end position. So if you're desperate, I think Freiermuth makes some sense.
Mike Tomlin, I need you to go into Arthur Smith's office and just throw everything around, trash the place. We cannot be out here giving 4 rushing attempts to Cordero Patterson. It's only 4. Give those to Jalen Warren. That is irresponsible. Arthur Smith, it's like leaving a toddler next to a hot stove. You can't blame the toddler for doing the dumb thing.
Yeah.
Arthur Smith, you can't. Mike Tomlin, you can't let him do that. He's going to do dumb things.
And it's fine. If you wanted to pick him up for this new kickoff rule change, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But keep him there. Keep him taking these kickoffs. You've got 2 good running backs. Why do we need 3?
Exactly. Jalen Warren coming off of injury, I'm not sure how to feel this out, but if Najee Harris gets 20 rush attempts in this game, I have to imagine it'll be okay. The upside's not really there. Justin Fields doesn't like to check down all that much, so he's going to have to score a touchdown to really pay off, but he's definitely startable if you have some other sort of injury. Let's say CMC doesn't go. If I have to start Najee Harris, I'm fine with it.
Hey, and it looks like the Bills drew blood first. Josh Allen, 17-yard touchdown pass to James Cook.
Nice. Oh, yep. I have James Cook in a lot of places. Love that.
Yeah, me too. And Josh Allen, actually. All right, moving on. To my Broncos, I should say.
Oh, no, go ahead and move on. That's it.
Seriously.
I'm not starting a single Bronco. There's not one.
No. I mean, you could. Cortland Sutton at least got 12 targets last week. So if you want to cling to something, but this is a good secondary he's going up against.
It shut down Drake London. Cortland Sutton's not better than Drake London.
Well.
No. Don't do that.
So far right now, Andrew, they're the same player.
I'm gonna go trash your office. You're
actually,
doing the Cordero Patterson.
You know what? Drake London hasn't proven he's any better than Sutton yet. If you want to, I know you love to cling to your efficiency metrics, but let's just point out he has not looked better at any point in his career yet. So
I refuse to even give you an argument on this. Do not start a single Bronco.
I like Drake London more based on underlying analytics, but if you want to talk about actual production, we have not seen it. And Cortland Sutton, it's not like he's had a plethora of amazing quarterbacks either.
I'm ignoring you. Javonte Williams, running back, you can definitely consider starting him. He was the lead back? ? I mean, Steven, did you watch this game, the last Denver game?
Well, here was the thing, Andrew. I could have watched it, but I was at my cousin's house, and he's a Cowboys fan.
Ooh.
And I was like, we can watch the Cowboys game. It sounded a little more fun.
You decided to have a good time instead of misery.
Yes. So I didn't see as much of that one, but didn't get the workload I wanted to see. Still got 57% of the snaps, which I'm okay with. But I don't know. I don't love this matchup. Again, I'm going to keep looking at that 36.5 point over under. I'm probably this is just a full sit for me on the Broncos offense.
Every Bronco. That's enough said for this matchup. AJ, next one.
All right, we got the Bengals taking on the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 5.5, over under at 48.5. And guys, I know we kind of joke about it every week, but I'm really starting to think that like the ground has done something to Isaiah Pacheco, because he last week just looked like a certified ground hater.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing whack-a-mole with the grass. Every blade of grass had to be whacked, though.
Yeah, no, he runs. I just think if he got with a running coach, like Usain Bolt got a hold of him, or the coach of Usain Bolt, this guy could be one of the fastest guys in the league because he's already fast.
He ran a 4.3.
But he's just the impact is causing him to bounce around way more than he needs to be.
There's an earthquake in Korea every time he gets the ball.
Or a tsunami in Thailand at the very least. Look that up, AJ. I bet it's true. But anyway, in this one, starting all your Chiefs in this one. Are you still starting Worthy?
No,
I don't mind.
That's one I wanted to call out because I think there's a really big chance that the Bengals, who just lost to the Patriots, and the Bengals are going to the Chiefs on the road in Arrowhead, there's a good chance the Bengals go down early with that Chiefs defense, and they just stop passing. I think a huge game for Pacheco, though.
You're really worried about these games, all these games getting out of hand.
I think it's the Patriots.
I think it's more rare than you're thinking for these guys to not play in the second half. Like, yeah, maybe you lose a couple series at the end of the game, but you're definitely getting a full 3 quarters. And typically, you're going into the fourth quarter too. So
Xavier Worthy got 4 touches in a game that went wire to wire. In a game that might not be competitive as a small receiver, they may want to protect him and not give him as many carries or touches again.
Yeah, I think he's a wide receiver 3. I'm not too scared to start him as that type of receiver, because I think he just needs. They're going to get him some manufactured touches, and what he can do with those is he can score touchdowns with those. Dang it! I keep trying to look up Brown. Did you see if
He's out.
Brown? He's still out. Okay.
Yeah.
I assume he's going to be out for a while. They're not. There's no rush to get him back. They want him 100% healthy. They obviously didn't need him against a good Baltimore defense last week, so I think they're going to wait till he's fully healthy. And because of that, that's why I'm not as scared off by Worthy in this one. So anyway, start your Chiefs for the most part. Cincinnati, though, I'm not quite as optimistic about. I think this is going to be a tough game for them. On paper, maybe it looks like. Don't fall for the fantasy points per game given up. They just played Lamar Jackson, who rushed for a ton of yards. Joe Burrow's not going to do that. I don't love this game for Joe Burrow. I don't love it for Jamar Chase either. I still have him ranked as the wide receiver 8 because he's Jamar Chase, but I'm nervous about him. I could see him laying an egg in this one. Not an egg, not a goose egg, but having a dud game.
It's like you usually want less competition around you, but this Bengals offense just has it's depleted of weapons without Higgins and him both there, and it'll be better, but you're gonna have to really hope Chase goes full sicko mode.
Yeah, I'm really not start. I really don't want to start Burrow. There's a lot of better options. I don't think I'm going full Daniel Jones over him yet, but I'm going to think about it, Andrew. I think there's a world where he starts over Joe Burrow.
If Neighbors plays, I'd really consider it.
I would too. Zach Moss, I'm okay starting him. I'm not touching Chase Brown yet. I need to. It was the Zach Moss show last week, so
Moss got 65% of the snaps, 69% of rush attempts, and a 14% target share. And the target share was supposed to be Chase Brown's thing, and that even went to Moss. So early season, Moss is the guy. I think you can fire him up, and he's an RB2 this week.
Yeah, I've still got him as an RB3 just based on the matchup, but the usage, like you said, is an RB2 usage.
Yeah.
Good matchup for Mike Gesicki, but don't care. I'm not starting him. Yeah, it's just Chase and Moss and then maybe Burrow.
Yep, Chase, Moss, and Burrow if you need it, and then start your Chiefs that you would always start anyway. Rashee Rice, would you call him a wide receiver 1 weekly at this point?
I think so, until further notice, because I don't care if he's not the most polished wide receiver. You match him up against a really good corner, I don't think he wins a lot. But with what they're asking him to do, I feel like he is like the Michael Thomas of this team, and I'm fine with that for fantasy, I think. And he's got really good after the catch ability. So he's not going to you can always you could tell in that game when he was getting the ball because he can get chased down. Like he doesn't have breakaway speed. But he does have the ability to pick up chunk yards. So I like that paired with Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, he's a wide receiver 1 until further notice.
Absolutely. Jamar Chase talking a lot of smack on the Chiefs, buddy. You better put up 200 yards for the sake of your personality, your everyone knowing you. Like, you can't talk that much crap and not follow it up. And also, my fantasy team desperately needs it. Make it up for last week. AJ, 2 more. Get us on to the next one.
All right, moving to the Sunday night game. We're going Bears against Texans. Texans are favored by 6.5. Over under is 45.5. And even though Caleb Williams didn't throw a touchdown last week, he became the first QB to be picked first in the draft to win their week 1 start in 20 years.
What?
Wow. That's insane.
Well, Will Levis won that game. Let's be honest. Will Levis was the quarterback that won that game for the Bears.
Yep.
I'm not too scared off of that performance by Caleb. He can be a rookie, right? Like we gotta, let's not forget he is a rookie. I think he'll have bounce back games. I don't love this matchup playing in Houston. Not my favorite matchup. I got him right around where I got Joe Burrow ranked, mid-range QB2. So just kind of depends on your options. DJ Moore, I'm still firing up DJ Moore. I'm still, Andrew, I know you don't like it. I'm still firing up Keelan Allen. If he's going to keep getting near 40% target share, I'm not going to back away from that. And this is a game they will be, I mean, they're 6.5 point underdogs in this one. They're going to be chasing points. So I think we could see actually good games from the 3 of those guys. I think Swift could be okay this season, but I don't love this matchup. It's more of an RB3 for me.
I was very confused by DeAndre Swift. When I looked at it, checked my phone, bad week, kind of expected it. Swift probably in a backfield committee. He had 68% of the snaps, 50% of the rushing attempts, 61% route participation. Now, only 4% of the targets. I think that will even go up. So
I did
Go
bet
ahead.
the under on his. I think he had like a 1.5 reception prop, and I cashed on that.
There's a chance DeAndre Swift could be really good, and this first game was really fluky. I was actually excited to see what I saw. This is an upgrade for Swift for me. I was low on him. This is an upgrade, seeing 68% of snaps.
Yeah, Khalil Herbert was a complete non-factor in this one. I think Travis Homer might have got more play
He
than
did.
him. So yeah, no, I think now was Roschon a
He was
healthy
out.
scratch or was he still an injury scratch?
I believe he was an injury scratch. Let me look into that.
Well, I am curious when he comes back if that'll switch at all. But for right now, he's more of a desperation start. Swift, not a desperation. That's probably too harsh of a word, but he's more of like an RB3 for me. But yeah,
Roschon Johnson was technically a healthy scratch, but he was dealing with an injury up until the point, so it's to be seen.
Yeah. All right, on the Texas side of the ball, I think you're starting everybody.
Yep.
I don't know if much more analysis is needed there. Even Schultz, I think, is in play in this one. And I think Tank Dell's a good buy low right now.
I think Tank Dell is specifically one to call out. Jalen Johnson. Nico Collins, I think it played out in the game the way I thought. He is by far the team's wide receiver one, needed every week. Jalen Johnson's going to be on Nico Collins. I think Tank Dell gets his number called a couple more times than last week. I think this is a big breakout. He'll start his year finally this week. All right, AJ. Last one.
So the Monday night game is the Falcons versus the Eagles. Philly is favored by 6.5. Over under is 47.5. And gentlemen, watching this game last week, tush push did not look good. Do we think that's a Jason Kelsey problem or just the fact that they were down in Brazil and that field was hot garbage?
You know, I have never tried to be a center playing football.
Oh, really?
So I don't know. Like the eyeball test tells me, is it really that hard? Like if you're already a center to do the tush push, like I can't imagine a Jason Kelsey who was, God, what was he, 35 last year when he was playing center? I wouldn't say he was the best center in the league. Now he could be considered the best center of all time, maybe over the course of his career, but I don't know that he was the best last year. I think Jalen Hurts plays a bigger part in that. The guy can squat like 500 and some pounds. So I still think it's more Jalen Hurts. So I'm not worried about, I'm more worried about Barkley because that guy's a freaking insane athlete who's big. So I'm more worried about Barkley and that just getting split up. But I'm not worried about it for either one. I think this is a good offense. Yeah, nobody thought Jalen Hurts was going to get 15 rushing touchdowns this year. It set an NFL record last year with Josh Allen. But I still think he gets close to 10, if not more than 10. So that's what you can expect from Hurts. Sorry, I was about to talk about the Falcons, but I'm segueing to Philadelphia since we kind of went down that path. But this one, I think this is going to be a fun game. I think, the battle of the birds. I think the Eagles will win. I'm not worried about this offense is so good. I love this offense. I'm starting all my Eagles.
I really would be concerned if the Eagles don't torch them. This Falcons defense, again, it's just really, really new, getting itself together. So we should hopefully see lots of success. It's a good matchup. Looking at PFF's matchup grade, again, just skill versus skill. This is a really good matchup across the board for the Eagles, specifically pointing out the Eagles offensive line versus the Falcons defensive line. This had great success last week looking at those individual matchups. Saquon Barkley should eat again in this one. Let's just hope he gets into the end zone and a couple more receptions, but it looks good for Saquon, especially in this.
Oh yeah, he's my RB1 on the week.
Woo!
I don't think that's that hot. I really don't. I feel like people are just default putting Bijan and Breece Hall ranked higher. I don't know. I
guess it's with the assumption CMC is not playing.
But I think you could argue he could be started over CMC based on what we saw last week.
I like it. 27 implied points says you're probably right.
Yeah. So, but on the Atlanta side of the ball, Bijan, obviously starting him. Okay, now you talk about Philadelphia doesn't look good in this one, you'll be worried. If I don't see Drake London or Kyle Pitts do something in this one, I'm worried. I was careful to not get too caught up in the rankings with Drake London. Like, I understood all the underlying points with him, but he was third in the pecking order last week in targets. It was not being used. Now, that was a good defense they went up against playing Pittsburgh. But you have to be. Are you at all concerned, Andrew? You got to be a little bit concerned.
I actually started backing off Drake London very quietly. I don't know if you saw my rankings. He slowly started to drop towards the beginning of draft season because I thought, man, Kirk has an Achilles. And dude, it was sound the alarms. Kirk's Achilles looked as bad as you possibly could have imagined. So many passes. Like, he's the backyard quarterback, and it's when your 59-year-old uncle who has 2 torn ACLs is playing in the backyard, and he's the designated quarterback. That's what Kirk Cousins looks like. He can't move. There were multiple passes where there was a pass rush, and he just threw it into the ground in front of him because he's not moving. Kirk Cousins is very hurt. He's got to get healthier. Michael Penix has got to get in there. That's my theory. Put your aluminum foil hat on. They got Kirk Cousins in the building, signed him sporadically because their owner made him, and then realized how hurt he really was and how bad he looked, and they drafted Michael Penix. There's my aluminum hat.
That could be the case. I mean, it's definitely not out of the question. What did London have? Was it 2 targets?
I don't want to talk about it.
No, I wanted to pull it up. I wanted to see if how far down the pecking order he was. Okay, he did have 3 targets, 2 receptions, 15 yards, 3 fantasy points. When you see Ray McLeod had 7 targets, that's not a good sign.
Now, I did call it out. This specifically was a terrible matchup for a lot of the skill players on the Falcons, like Joey Porter Jr. against Drake London. You drafted Joey Porter Jr. to take away Drake London type, that big Alpha X strong. So that was a terrible matchup. We thought the ends would get to the quarterback there. So I wasn't panicking there. But, dude, this could be bad.
Yeah. Again, it's 1 week, though. We'll wait and see if it gets...
Still starting.
Yeah. But yeah, that you're still starting these guys. But like I said, if we don't see something this week against a Philly secondary that I still think is extremely beatable, I'm nervous.
Let's not go full doom and gloom. Kyle Pitts caught a touchdown. That's really cool. He doesn't do that much.
Yeah, but still... 3 targets for him as well. Fortunately, I was also not saying to draft Kyle Pitts. Again, 1 week, and he's probably the tight end 5 after this week of tight ends. But 3 receptions, 26 yards. He and Drake London had very similar stats in this one. Let's just hope for better days.
Exactly. AJ, that's all of them, right?
Yes, sir.
We did it. We're on to week 2 of the NFL season, and man, it just keeps getting better. It's like Christmas morning every Thursday, every Sunday, every Monday, and I can't get enough of it. And we here at Fantasy Guides got you covered. Go follow the page on Instagram at Fantasy Guides. Go get you an in-season draft guide. Guys, this draft guide seriously is as much or as little as you want it to be. I'm amazed by it. I tell Steven, hey, I didn't know we had this in our in-season guide all of the time. It is incredible. Go get you one. We always have promos everywhere.
It's $10 for the season. Like that's nothing.
That's so cheap.
And it's giving it away.
It's on your phone. You can pull it up. It's phone friendly. It's incredible. Get you some. And we will be back, not myself, but Steven, Casey, and Jesse to go over the instant reaction to get you guys into next week. We'll be back at you again as well on Tuesday to get some buy sells. And then we'll get your starts and sits next Thursday. Boys, say goodbye to the friends at home.
Good luck, everybody.
See ya.